Well, we're live. You don't have anything in your teeth, I promise. Nothing in your teeth.
I just ate my dinner.
Did you just eat your dinner? Well, there's a lot to celebrate on this show today.
Yes, there is.
A lot of milestones.
A lot.
A lot of milestones. For instance, the Burnettwork officially hit 30,000 subscribers. That's not in no small part because of you, the ace. 30,000 subs.
Yeah, and I made a promise.
You did make no, you did. Well, we're going to get to that. The Burnettwork also has 3 million views. 3 million views of our content.
That's a lot of views.
I mean, it's not like 100 million views that John Campy has got, but he's been doing this a lot longer. But for this channel, for the number of subscribers, it's pretty impressive.
That is
so
impressive.
we do want to thank all of our imagination connoisseurs and our whiners.
Yes.
We want to thank our whiners, because that's always good to thank the whiners. Isn't it?
It is.
All right. Well, I'm very excited about this next part that's about to come up. Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, your master of fun and wonder, your viceroy of verisimilitude, and your sommelier of cinema. And you know who I'm here with? They don't know unless you tell them.
Elysabeth, Gwendolyn, Belle, the ace, the arbiter of cinematic excellence, and the enchantress of entertainment.
The enchantress of entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be quite entertaining tonight. I know you don't have your glasses with you, so allow me to, since we wear the same terrible reading glasses from...
Yes.
I need you to put these on for me.
Cheap Amazon
I need you to put
glasses.
these on for me, because...
Am I reading something?
You are reading something. Yes, indeed you are. You're going to be reading something, and as all of the people on this channel know, that you made a promise, did you not?
I did. I promised that I would speak French at 30,000 subs.
You did. You said you were going to speak French. It's 30,000
That's right.
subs. And
look at this.
let me get something for you to read. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that's too much.
Oh, that's too big.
I made it too big.
I've got glasses on, so we're good.
Okay, I got glasses on. That's not enough. Let me make that bigger for you.
It was fine the first time.
Okay, it was fine the first time. Well, so Elysabeth Gwendolyn Belle is about to bust out her French language skills. Now, this is very impressive. This is like the first time we set a milestone that we've reached, and you're actually going to do it. So why don't you explain to the audience how long you've been speaking French, why you speak French, what is it about French with you?
Well, my mother is French, and that whole side of my family is French. And my first language that I learned as a child was French.
Really? So why have you been waiting until we had 30,000 subscribers before you spoke French?
First of all, it was really fun hearing you struggle to say French words.
So you're a sadist. You like to watch me struggle. So you have domination over me.
It's charming, sweetheart.
Charming.
It's charming.
You don't think it makes me look like an idiot?
Well, no, because it's not your language, so...
Well, I mean, it's a romance language. Actually, theoretically, being the kind of person I am, I should probably speak French and Spanish and maybe
you
Latin. I should speak them fluently, but I don't.
Should. I speak 3 languages.
Oh, vodio do do. All right, well then, okay. Why don't we give you the floor? We have a letter from our official, the first couple of the Burnettwork. Claude and Candida have sent you a letter.
Yes, thank you, Claude and Candida, for writing a letter in French.
Yes, well.
All right, are we reading this now?
I would. I mean, we've been waiting for you to bust out the français
Français.
for a long time.
Okay. All right, here we go. Les chefs-d'œuvre ne sont jamais que des tentatives heureuses. Masterpieces are never anything else but happy attempts. By George Sand.
That's a great quote.
Bonjour Elysabeth et Robert. Félicitations pour avoir atteint 30 000 abonnements. À cette occasion, je voulais vous écrire une courte lettre en français.
Wow.
you want me to read the rest?
But yes, you're supposed to read the rest. It's a letter to you.
Okay, Candida and I want to congratulate you both on reaching 30,000 subscribers. Elizabeth, we look forward to hearing you read the beginning of this letter in French. It will also be good to finally hear Côte du Rhône and Beaujolais pronounced correctly. Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo is one of our favorite films of all time. Congratulations on these happy attempts, and thank you for allowing us a window into your passions for great art. We look forward to the show, Claude and Candida.
Well, that was lovely. And I have a special bottle of wine for the occasion. It's not an expensive bottle of wine, but I think it's appropriate. Why don't you read what kind of wine this is?
This is Ménage à Trois.
Ménage à Trois.
Oui.
Oui, and what is a Ménage à Trois? Why would somebody name a bottle of wine that?
It's okay. So I'm
By the
sure
way,
you know what
it's
Ménage à
a
Trois.
cheap-ass bottle of wine, but hey, Ménage à Trois. I thought, I was being cheeky. So here you go. All right. Ménage à Trois.
Yes.
So-
It actually means a threesome, but I'm sure there are 3 different kinds of grapes in that wine.
You think there's 3 different kinds of grapes?
Yeah.
You mean you don't think it has anything to do with having a threesome?
Yeah, it's a threesome of grapes.
It's a threesome of grapes? So do they have a double penetration, 2 grapes on one?
Oh, jeez. Come on, man.
What?
Come on.
What? I don't,
Keep it classy, dude.
I
Keep
think
it
that is classy. I
We're
could have
speaking
said
French on this show.
I could have said just
Gotta
DP,
class
but I
it
had
up.
to use it all. Okay, you're right. Hitchcock. We're just talking about his obsessions.
Hitchcock, Vertige.
Oh, so you can just bust out the French now. I think you're going to be French all night long. Well, first of all, let's drink to Claude and Candida. Let's drink to you, speaking French.
Here's
And
to
let's
French.
drink to Alfred Hitchcock's masterpiece, Vertigo, 1958's Vertigo, a film that was not exactly well received or did very big box office when it first came out, now considered probably his masterpiece and one of the greatest films ever made. So cheers to all of these things.
Cheers.
And to our 3 million views and 30,000 subscribers. Well, it's a serviceable wine.
It'll do.
It'll do. So, Elizabeth, first of all, I have to say that we watched the new transfer of Vertigo that was just released in this Hitchcock box set. And I have to say, why don't you? How did you feel the transfer looked? The colors.
Oh my God. It was so beautiful. The colors were amazing. Everything was so crisp and beautiful.
The transfer is absolutely stunning. If you have a 4K player or you were considering an upgrade, this is an upgrade to get. My God.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
I can't wait to see if some of the other films are just as beautiful.
I've heard The Birds is iffy. Rear Window I'm really looking forward to seeing. And Psycho's in black and white. But, that's cool too.
That is cool.
So, Elizabeth, had you ever seen Vertigo before?
I had never seen Vertigo before.
So, what is this movie about?
This is a murder mystery.
No!
No!
No! What did you just... What? Spoiler alert!
Oh, come on!
Oh my
Don't
God!
we spoil every...
Let me just say, if you ever find somebody that doesn't know what Vertigo is about and you tell them that it's a murder mystery, I will never speak to you again. There's your way out of this relationship. Have you seen Vertigo? No. Did you know it's a murder mystery? I'm out the door. Out the door. Never to return.
Wow!
It's a murder mystery. Well, that's it. Thanks for this. On our
guess
scale
we're
of how
ending
many
the
glasses of wine.
I guess we're ending the show now.
Murder mystery.
Okay, scratch that.
God, that's like saying Close
It's a
Encounters.
mystery.
That's like saying Close Encounters is a movie about a man who gets on an alien spaceship
This
and leaves
is
his
from
family behind.
1958. Come on.
But you got bring some finesse. You're supposed to ease into it. You're supposed to Dieter Bastian is going to say this is the greatest plot synopsis we've ever done. He was going to say that.
We started and now it's over.
It's over. All right. Let's back it up. Perhaps there's other plot points or themes at play in this film.
Oh, yes. There are.
So why don't we start talking about James Stewart as John Scottie Ferguson. Who is John Scottie Ferguson?
He is a detective. And he is on a chase.
Movie opens on the rooftops of San Francisco.
Yeah, it's a very cool shot.
Not the streets of San Francisco. That's a different
Overlooking the
thing.
rooftops, and him and a fellow officer, he's a detective, but a police officer, they are chasing somebody.
A perp.
Yeah, a perp. And they're jumping across the roofs, and then they jump onto this kind of
Steep sloped roof.
Steep slope.
That's many stories in the air.
Yeah, and as the detective, Scottie, as he jumps, he slips, and then he's holding on to the...
Like the gutter.
The gutter. And it starts bowing.
And there's the cop that jumped before him.
Yeah.
Who comes down to start rescuing him.
He comes back. And before that happens, he looks down, and he just gets this... Vertigo.
He finds out he's agoraphobic. He didn't know until this moment.
Yeah.
He's agoraphobic, and he gets vertigo.
Although vertigo is spinning.
Yes.
This wasn't spinning. It's just elongating.
It's true, but he gets the vertigo later.
It never spins. It's always just elongated.
Well, there's spinning in the opening credits. There's all kinds of spinning.
It's graphic spinning.
And maybe vertigo is metaphoric.
Yes, it is.
So, okay.
Okay, so he has vertigo.
By the way, I want to point out this movie was not originally called Vertigo.
Right.
This movie is based on a French novel.
Something the dead.
Oh, hang on.
A French novel. See?
Wait a minute. Let's see where is that? Here is it's called let me get it. Lente le Mort. How's that? Have I acquitted myself?
No.
Right
that
here.
was terrible.
Right here.
Oh.
Here. This.
No.
Oh, well. Anyway, it's called The Living and the Dead, based on a French book. Sorry, I massacred, but I had to get that in there. I had to speak some French.
I love when you speak French.
Where'd those glasses go? I couldn't even
Oh.
see the French. Oh, you put them in your glasses. I need those. I'm gonna have to read them later. So okay, so what happens, poor old Scott? What happens? They're on the roof.
Yeah, they're on the roof, and the cop comes back and says, "Grab my hand," and he just can't even move. He's like, freaking out. And the cop reaches lower and falls off the roof.
And dies. Falls off the roof and dies. And then we cut to a beautiful apartment.
Beautiful apartment with giant windows.
And who do we find? We find Barbara Bel Geddes, the great Barbara Bel Geddes, as Midge.
And she's an artist.
She's an artist. She's Scottie's former fiance. They were in love.
They were in college together.
And now she still carries a torch for him, but he doesn't see her that way.
Well, she broke off the engagement.
She did break off the engagement. But here's the thing. I think Midge is one of the most interesting characters in all of cinema history.
She is very interesting.
A lot of people might say, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But first of all, Midge is the classic Lori Loughlin girl. To me, she's first of all, she's beautiful, but they give her glasses and they kind of make her look dowdy, even though she's clearly like the hot woman who would be like a vixen in bed, but she's all like buttoned up.
They made her look nerdy.
But she's hot. She's hot.
She's a beautiful woman.
And yet that like Jimmy Stewart calls her mother a couple of times.
Oh, so creepy.
And like clearly this is the woman, they're like best friends. They should be together.
They're best friends.
Those
are the best kind of relationships.
They are the best kind of relationships, but you want some, there should be some romantic sparks. He should put her up against that window, arms up, steaming that window up, you know what I'm saying? But no. Nope. No.
Are you feeling very French today?
I'm feeling very French.
Okay, so.
But they discuss the agoraphobia, and
yes.
and she says they'll get over it. And he says they'll get over it. You have to work your way through it.
Yeah, she's trying to encourage him to work through it, and she's kind of nursing him back to health, sort of. And then he says, little baby steps, basically. And he takes his stool and gets on it. And he's like, look, I look up, I look down, I look up, I look down, see? And then she brings him a taller stool, and he does the same thing, but it's next to the window.
He accidentally looks out the window.
And when he looks up and then he looks down, he gets the vertigo.
He accidentally looks out into the street.
That's right.
All the way down.
All the way down.
And she catches him.
She does catch him.
She catches him, which I think is also important. This movie is full of symbolism.
It is.
It's all about Hitchcock's obsessions.
Yeah.
And then Jimmy Stewart is contacted by apparently a college buddy that Midge does not remember.
She doesn't remember him.
She doesn't remember him. And that's, of course, Tom Helmore as Gavin Elster.
Yeah.
And he is a shipping magnate.
He is.
That married into...
He married this beautiful girl who...
Madeleine.
Who he is
Madeleine
worried
Elster.
about. So he calls up Jimmy Stewart, Scottie, and asks him for his help because he knows he's a detective, and he also knows that he is no longer going to do that. So he has the bright idea of hiring him as a private investigator.
Yeah, so when they meet, I mean, it's clear that this guy, it's in this very posh office and all this. And Elster tells Jimmy Stewart quite cockamamie story.
He does.
What does he tell him?
I want you to follow my wife. I don't think she's cheating on me, or we have a great relationship. It's not that. It's that when I'm talking to her, she blanks out and then doesn't act like herself.
But then he's followed her and she goes places and she doesn't remember going, and he's convinced. He tells Scottie that, do you believe in possession? Do you believe that a person can get possessed by somebody else? And it's pretty crazy, and it's very odd coming from him because he's become a captain of industry, but it also sets up the fact that, you know, he sort of married into this family. Like, he's got it good because of Madeleine.
I didn't get that sense.
Well, they do. That
it was because of her that he had money.
Oh, I think it is. I think because that plays into the plot later. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think you're wrong about that.
All right. Okay.
And so, but she's beautiful.
Well, hang on, little sister.
Hang on, little brother.
So we gotta like, so.
Okay, we're getting there.
Okay.
You keep interrupting.
Sorry.
At first, Scottie is like, what the? That's crazy. I'm out of here. And he starts to leave, but then the guy keeps telling him more and more about his wife. And so he's kind of drawn in and decides to take the job. And so the next day, he shows up at their apartment and follows her. She comes out.
Well, no,
No?
Gavin says, come to this restaurant so you can see what she looks like.
That happened first, yes. Yes, this restaurant, this fancy restaurant.
Fancy schmancy.
And he goes there and sits at the bar, and he sees them sitting, and she's wearing this gorgeous gown.
This green number.
Green, which stands out against the red, because this room is like all red.
Red and green is a big part of this film, the color palette.
Yeah.
So as a woman,
they're compliments.
for Kim Novak, the great Kim Novak plays Madeleine.
Just like Amelie.
Just like Amelie.
Red and green.
Well, yes, red and green. Why do you think that is? Why that color palette?
They're compliments. They play off of each other. They vibe.
Okay, that's good. I'm asking. You're the artist.
Yeah.
So as a woman yourself, as an audience member, like Scottie, because it's a really interesting. Jimmy Stewart looks over his shoulder, and there's a long pan across this restaurant, and then the camera settles on them, and you see Kim Novak from behind. As a woman, I mean, it places us, the viewer, in the position of Jimmy Stewart. How, as a woman, when you're introduced to another female character, obviously you're assessing her as another woman.
Yeah.
What did you think of that character? What did you think of Madeleine the first time you saw her? In that dress, the way she's carrying herself?
You mean before you see her face?
Well, but that whole thing, like even when her face is revealed, what did you think of her? What were your impressions?
First of all, you think, oh, these people have a lot of money. She looks really well dressed. She's wearing this gorgeous gown. Her back is showing at first, and you're like, oh, okay. She's probably gorgeous. And then you think, oh man, she looks really, really young compared to these old dudes.
Well, dudes looked older in the day.
No, it was actually old dudes with really young women.
Yeah, but dudes looked older in the day too.
They were older. They even said she was 26. Those dudes were not 26.
But I would say they were doing well for themselves, so congratulations, man. Nicely done. So, And, but what your impressions, like when she reveals herself, her face, her makeup, her platinum blonde hair. I was trying to get into that. Like, I wanted you to comment on her hair, which is clearly...
I freaking loved her hair.
I figured you would.
Yes. I really loved her hair.
That's it? I mean, I was expecting more...
She's gorgeous. She's
okay.
like gorgeous. She's gorgeous. Is there something wrong with our internet?
Why?
Because we're kind of not fluid. Do you
no,
see
we're
that?
fine. Yeah, we're okay.
Are we fluid?
We're fluid.
It seems like kind of choppy.
No, it's
Are we choppy?
We're fine. No, we're fine.
Oh, it looks weird.
It's fine.
Okay. So, yeah, she's gorgeous.
She's gorgeous.
Her face is perfect. Her features are perfect.
And now that Scottie's seen her, then what happens now?
Okay, so he sees her, and of course he's taken aback at her beauty, and that's how that scene ends, right?
Yeah, but then the next day he's taking the job and he's gonna follow her.
He goes to their apartment and he watches her leave the apartment, and she gets into her car. This really cool old green car.
Oh, it's like very expensive Rolls or something.
Oh my God. Very cool car. And he follows her, and she goes into an alley and stops and goes into this back door. And so,
I mean, she's such a customer that she can go in through the back door.
Yeah, I was wondering why she went through.
She's not wearing a raspberry beret, but she can go in through the back door. Back door. I like to go in through the back door. I mean, when I know the people, like if I go to a club, like in Goodfellas.
Uh-huh.
Why? What did you think I meant?
You are Randy. Okay, so she goes in the back door and he follows her in, and it's like this back room. It looks like
a storeroom.
Storeroom, but it's empty. And then he sees another door, and he like opens it a crack and watches, and it's this gorgeous flower shop. And she's in there looking very elegant, picking out flowers.
Now, let me ask you something. Did you see any meaning in the fact that she went in through the back door of the alleyway and goes through a really dingy, I mean, she's beautifully dressed. She's really dingy storeroom before she goes in. Like, why wouldn't she just park? I mean, I know it's San Francisco. It's hard to park there, but I mean, you wouldn't expect a woman of her elegance or her style to go in through and to go in through such a grungy room into this beautiful place.
Gorgeous place.
So I was attributed some meaning to that.
There's got to be meaning to that.
I was wondering, do you have any ideas?
Well, I don't want to spoil the rest of the film.
Okay, well, you mean the murder mystery? You don't want to spoil the murder mystery that we're talking about?
We don't know. There might have been a murdered cat. There might have been
That's exactly what the people who've never seen Vertigo, who really want to see Vertigo. I've always wanted to see that. Oh, it's a murder mystery. They're gonna love you after they see the movie.
Well, come on, man.
Okay, man. I'm just saying.
Come on.
Okay, so she's buying flowers.
It is Hitchcock, after all. I mean, come on. It's not a mystery.
Okay, I would grant. Okay.
I mean,
that is cogent reasoning. You got me there.
Seriously.
North by Northwest isn't really a murder mystery.
Okay, but
To Catch a Thief isn't a murder mystery.
But it's a mystery.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's usually murders involved. Somebody gets murdered.
So I'm not wrong.
Okay.
Okay. So where were we? Sheesh.
She buys the flowers and he follows her. She's got the flowers and she's going somewhere else.
She got the flowers. She gets into her car. He follows her. He follows her. She swerves all through town, and they end up at a museum.
Well, don't they go to the church first?
They go to the church first.
They go to the church first to a grave site.
They go to the church, and she goes through the church to the back of the grave, and she's standing in front of a grave.
Carlotta.
Well, we don't know that yet.
Oh.
She's standing there, and he's kind of snooping and trying to see. And then as soon as she leaves, he goes and writes down the information. And it's Carlotta. What's the last name? With a V, right?
Yeah, and I just always think of her as Carlotta, but
Carlotta? Is it Carlotta?
It's Carlotta, so whatever.
Carlotta.
Carlotta. Carlotta Valdez.
Yes. Carlotta Valdez.
Like Juan Valdez. Could be Juan Valdez's great-grandmother.
Could be.
And Madeleine's grandmother. We don't know that yet.
Now you're giving away the...
I'm not giving away anything. I'm just saying it's not like, you assume that she's visiting someone's gravesite that she's, married to.
Yeah, but that was a big reveal.
Oh, okay.
And you just spoiled it.
As opposed to a murder mystery.
That could mean any... But that still leaves it
mysterious.
Let's
keep going. Okay, let's keep...
You just gave away that was her grandmother.
Yeah, but we find that out not too very much longer in the story, but keep going. Then he follows her to the museum.
Okay, then, yes, he follows her to the museum, and she is sitting in front of a painting.
Of who?
Carlotta Valdez.
And what necklace is Carlotta Valdez wearing?
She's wearing this ruby necklace, and the flowers she bought are the exact same arrangement that Carlotta is holding in the painting.
Carlotta's holding
And her hair is twisted in a French twist the exact same way as Carlotta in the painting.
So at this point, do you believe that she's possessed like her husband seems to think?
I know something's up.
Something is up.
Something is up.
And what happens after that?
So then she goes, where does she go?
She goes to the Presidio underneath the Golden Gate Bridge.
That's right. She goes.
And he follows her, and it's great. What a great location. Very famous location.
Is it that time that she goes?
Isn't it? Yeah, I think it is.
No, it's not the first time he follows her. I don't think
maybe not. You're right.
It's not the first time he follows her. But then what happens?
Well, I think it is, isn't it?
No, it's like he follows her for several days, and
oh yeah, you're right. That's right. Later. So I think before, like he follows her.
Yeah.
And then Midge and him, he's followed her for the whole day, and she disappears into a hotel, and he can't find her.
Oh, that's right. Was that on the first day? Anyway, it doesn't matter. One time he follows her, and she goes into this hotel, and he goes in there, and he asks the desk person, who is she? What is she doing here, basically? And she's like, oh, she comes and sits in the room. I'm like, does she ever sleep here? No. She comes 2 or 3 times a week.
Right.
And then he's like, well, is she here now? And she's like, no, she's not here. I just followed her in here. Go check.
Yeah.
And so she goes up there, and she's not there.
She's vanished. She's gone.
And so then when he's with Midge,
Scottie and Midge are hanging out, and Scottie's trying to explain all this to Midge.
Well, she really wants to know what's up.
Yeah.
And so he's only revealing a little bit. So, but then he asks if he were interested in the history of San Francisco, where would he go? Who would he ask? And she's like, oh, I know exactly. And she names a bookstore. But he still hasn't told her why. And so when they go to this bookstore, he asks about Carlotta Valdez. And this guy explains. Knows
all about Carlotta Valdez.
Yes. So she was she a singer, or was she anyway, she was there in San Francisco and met a really rich but married guy. And
yeah, it wasn't that kind of San Francisco yet.
Yeah.
It's not that kind of story. Maybe if Hitchcock made it later, Carlotta, would have met like Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct if we could have had a real movie. You know what I'm saying? Just kidding.
So, don't fuck with cats.
Don't fuck with cats. That's right.
Now, every time you bring up that movie, I think of Don't Fuck with Cats.
We're doing that movie when we get the 4K disc.
We're doing Don't Fuck with Cats?
No, we're doing Basic Instinct.
If you haven't seen the documentary Don't Fuck with Cats, go on Netflix.
Okay, we got to get back. I mean, we can't besmirch the memory of this great movie.
Right.
So, and here's the thing I love about all of this. It's classical, sort of Gothic. It is this mystery story, but it definitely has Gothic elements. It might have a little bit of like a turn of the screw. Is there a goat? They really play up the idea that there might be a supernatural element here.
Right, which is super cool about this movie.
It's super cool, and you're like, okay, is this a ghost story? Like, is she being like? And when I first saw this movie, I saw this movie when it was re-released in the theater. I want to say in '84. They put out Rear Window, this, Rope, The Trouble with Harry, and one other movie, and Universal put them out, new restorations, and that's when I first saw Vertigo, and I love that. Like I'd heard about this movie, but back then I didn't know much about it, so I was really intrigued by the potential supernatural element. Like, is she being possessed by Carlotta Valdez? Like, is that what's going on here?
Right. So okay, Carlotta Valdez met this rich guy and had an affair with him. He was married. And then she got pregnant, and he didn't want anything else to do with her, but he took the child. And, well, before that, he built her this beautiful mansion, which is the hotel that she went to visit.
That's the Hotel McKittrick.
The mansion that was built for Carlotta. So he like got rid of her, and she went and lived in her mansion, and she did not have her child. The child was taken because he couldn't have children with his wife, so they took the child.
And she basically ended up alone and like a homeless.
She was alone, and she would wander the streets
muttering
asking
to
people,
herself,
"Where's my child? Where's my child?"
Yeah.
And she started going crazy. So she got more and more crazy, and finally she jumped into the bay. Jumped into San Francisco Bay, took her own life. She died when she was 26. Yep.
The same age as Madeleine is now.
Exactly.
So then, now that they've learned all this, Jimmy Stewart, Scottie goes back to following her.
He goes back to following her, and she, I don't know, she does the same things over and over. And then finally one day he follows her to the edge of the bay.
The edge of the bay, San Francisco Bay.
And she has her bouquet, and she is throwing the flowers one by one into the bay, and then she jumps in.
Yep.
And he goes and rescues her. Brings her out, puts her in her car, and he's trying to wake her up.
And the thing is, and here's another thing that's a little weird. Like, he takes her home.
He takes her to his house.
And, like, takes off
undresses her.
Yeah, he takes off. Now, he straight up undresses her, takes off all her clothes to dry her clothes off.
Puts her in his bed.
And puts her in his bed. And now they don't. Nowadays, I think you'd have half the female audience going on Twitter going, fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck that guy. What the hell?
Let me just tell you, if I met Kim Novak and she tried to kill herself and passed out in my arms, if I had a reason to take her back to my apartment and undress her to get her clothes dry, I probably would do that too.
That's really creepy, Rob.
Well, what are you going to do? Leave her in her wet clothes?
You're going to take her home.
You don't know where she lives.
He did know where she lives.
Oh, he did know. But he's working for the husband now. Do you want the husband to find out?
You would take her to the hospital. She just tried to commit suicide.
Or you could take her home and take off her clothes. Like Jimmy Stewart does. Scottie ain't no dummy.
She's 26. He's an old dude.
As I said, he ain't no dummy.
Anyway,
but don't you think, like, it always struck me as strange.
It is strange
that is an interesting course of events, because he could take her to the back to Gavin and say, look, he could have taken her home and said, look, this is what happened, and he is a cop, so there is an element of respectability there. And it just, I always thought that was sort of an odd choice.
It was very odd.
No, but I think it works.
No, I don't think he did anything to her, but it was super creepy.
He didn't do anything to her. He's a cop. He's a good guy.
Know, okay.
He's a good man.
So,
Scottie.
I trust that he didn't do anything to her at that point. But, so anyway, she wakes up and she's like, what am I doing here? She's not even freaked out. I'd be freaked out. I'd be like, what the fuck am I doing here? Who the fuck are you, and why am I naked in your bed?
Yeah, why am I naked in your bed?
So he gives her a robe, and she comes out, and he explains to her that she fell into he starts questioning her.
Yeah. What do you remember?
Yeah. And where do you go during the day? Why were you there? All kinds of, like,
he's interrogating her.
He's interrogating her, and she's like, why are you asking me all these
But I like
questions?
that, because he goes back into cop mode. He's like the retired cop. He goes back into cop mode.
So anyway, he explains that she jumped into she fell into the bay and he rescued her. And so, and at this point, like, there's some vibes going on.
There's a little bit of vibing going on.
There's a little bit of vibes going on. And the phone rings and he goes to answer it.
Yeah, he does.
That's how she woke up. So it rang again.
No. He goes to answer. Yeah, right. He goes into his room to talk. And then while he's in there talking to Gavin.
Yeah, her husband.
She gets dressed and bails.
And she leaves.
She bails. But then the next day,
he's following her, and he follows her to his own apartment. And she's putting something in the mail slot. And he walks up to her and says, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm just leaving a note to thank you. Or he reads the note, and it's a thank you note. And then she goes to her car, and he asks her, where are you going? Oh, I'm just going to wander. And he had explained to her that night that he also was a wanderer.
He was a wanderer too. Yeah.
And so he's like, well, do you want to wander together?
Yeah, let's go wander. Boom, chicka, boom, bow. Yeah, I get it. Let's go wander together.
So they do.
They do. And where do they go? They go into the woods?
They go to the sequoias. Those giant trees. I've been there, and they really are giant.
Thousands of years old.
A couple thousand years old. It's pretty amazing. They're huge. Okay, so they go to the sequoias, and they're walking around, and she starts being really weird. And there's a trunk that's cut, and it's got the rings, and then it's like marked with what happened when, like, going back 2,000 years. And she points to near the end, and she's like, this is where I was born, and this is where I die. And that was really weird. And then she just wanders off by herself, and then he follows her, and she's like being very strange.
Very, like, she doesn't remember. Like, is she being possessed? I mean, it's full on now. She's being possessed by Carlotta Valdez.
Right.
I mean, I think we as the audience and Scottie is coming around to the parapsychology of it all. Like, there's some strange stuff. I gotta call Peter Venkman and bring the Ghostbusters, because we're in big trouble here. So he's definitely getting the idea that there's some wackiness happening.
There's some wacky.
And then the next day they're gonna go out. They go home, and the next day she says, I had a nightmare.
Right. She tells him about
I had a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
I had a nightmare about a place.
Yes.
A place, a mission.
A mission.
Hang on, let me get this right. The Mission San Juan Bautista.
Right. Yes.
So, and
she explains, like, goes into detail about this nightmare, the carriages, and she makes it sound like this was back
in the day, like these are Carlotta memories.
Yeah, Carlotta memories.
She's recounting
yeah.
Carlotta memories.
Yeah. And
so what do? They go
They go there because now he's like madly in love with her. Oh, and at the sequoias they kiss.
They do kiss at the sequoias.
And so now he's like madly in love with her, and but also at the sequoias they stop, and she like almost runs into the ocean.
Right. Well, anyway.
So they go to the mission, and they go into the carriage house, and she's having one of her possessions again, where she remembers the horses and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, look, here's the horse. And it's like a plaster horse.
Yeah, it's a plaster horse.
He's like, no, you're not Carlotta. You're Madeleine, and I love you.
You're Madeleine, I love you. You're not being possessed by your great grandmother.
Yeah. And then he's
or your grandmother.
Then he's like, well, let's go up into the tower so I can prove to you that, or no, she runs
to the tower.
She runs. She's like, they have a moment where she says she loves him, and then she runs away from him into the tower. So she starts going up into the tower, and he follows her.
He follows, but what happens?
And he gets up a little bit, and then
because the tower's pretty high.
And she keeps going, and he's like, Madeleine, Madeleine, and he keeps chasing her, and then he gets higher and higher, and he starts to like sweat and lose it. He gets his vertigo, he gets agoraphobia. So he's freaking out, and she goes all the way up, and then he hears a scream, and he sees a body, because there's a window right there. He sees a body falling, and slam.
Madeleine is dead.
Yeah.
Straight up dead.
And he's so freaked out that he leaves. He runs away.
Runs away. Now, Gavin finds out about this. Doesn't blame him.
Doesn't blame him.
Because obviously she's possessed by the spirit of Carlotta
Right.
Valdez, as one does get possessed by the spirit of Carlotta.
Right.
And he gets thrown in. Well, he's in an asylum.
They put him in an asylum.
He goes to the cuckoo's nest.
He's in the cuckoo's nest.
And there's some cool effects in there. You know, he's in a sanitarium.
Yeah, which is an asylum.
Yes, but sanitarium. And
And so Midge comes and visits him.
now here's one of the most interesting things. When I said Midge is one of the most interesting characters in movies, this is the last time we see Midge in Vertigo. Yeah, it is. It's the last time we see her in the movie.
That's true.
Yeah. She's in the asylum with all the crazy people. And she's there visiting him, and then they even do a dissolve out. It's like it dissolves out on Midge. And then she's gone. And she never comes back unless you watch the foreign version of Vertigo that has a different ending tacked onto it.
Don't watch that ending.
Yeah, it's not good. But
Terrible.
it's terrible. But Midge disappears. Like his anchor, his best friend, this woman, like he goes to the asylum and disappears.
Well, she goes to the doctor after she visits him. She really wants him to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes to the doctor to talk to him about, and she explains to him that not only did this person die, but that he was in love with her.
He was in love with her.
And that she doesn't think that their music therapy is going to help.
No.
And so, and then she leaves.
But she doesn't just leave. She disappears from the movie. Like his best friend, this anchor in his life.
What is your point? Why did they do that?
That's my question to you. Why do you think this person, when they introduce Scottie, you don't know who he is. You just know he's a cop at the beginning. But they open the film with their relationship and how much it means and how they've been in everyone's lives.
When she disappears, that to me felt like, okay, he's crazy. And now we're watching from the perspective of his craziness.
So you mean for the rest of the movie?
For the rest of the movie, we are now.
So you don't think the rest of the movie, it's his fantasy?
It's
now some people's reading of this film, it's like an occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge. They do say this. There are people that have say this, that from once he goes into the asylum and then he comes out, that it is.
Yeah, I mean that's how it felt to me, but I think it still really happened. I just think it's from the view of through his crazy eyes.
All right, and I tend to agree with that assessment of this film.
Yeah.
That because what happens next is
It's crazy.
And it's obsessive and the way
wacky,
he is.
And maybe it is completely a fantasy because any woman that would put up with that shit.
Well, there's a reason she does. But wait, we can't get there. So what happened? We're not there yet. So he comes out of the asylum. Midge is gone from the movie.
A year later.
Yeah, we never see Midge again.
I don't know. Do we? I feel like we do at least one more time.
We do not. You think we did because we watched the shitty ending.
You shouldn't have showed me the shitty ending.
I shouldn't have showed you the shitty ending. I know.
Doesn't he go back to her apartment at some point?
No.
Huh. Okay. Anyway, so he's out.
And he's kind of wandering the city.
He's wandering because
he thinks he sees her. He thinks he sees.
He keeps going back to the places where, that he used to go to follow her, and he sees this. He keeps seeing these blonde women, and when they turn around, he realizes it's not her. And then one day he sees this group of women, and one of them, and they're all talking and they're facing him. So he sees her face, and it's her face. Although her hair is darker, it's her face. So he Does he follow her? He follows her into her apartment building.
Like, he follows her into her apartment building, to her apartment, and knocks on the door.
And knocks on the door, and she's like,
like, that's how possessed by this he
is obsessed.
And it is, like, you look at her and you're like, that's Kim Novak.
Yeah.
It is her.
It is her.
Her hair looks different. Her demeanor is different.
And she didn't talk with that smooth mid-Atlantic accent.
No, she's one step up from Singing in the Rain. What's the matter with my voice? She's one step above that.
She's a working girl.
She is a working girl, and she says that she's gone home with men before. Remember, she says that? She goes, "I've gone out with men before." Like, she's hooked up. She's a modern girl.
I didn't think it meant that.
It does mean it in the context of that movie. She's explaining it. Look, I've taken men home, and
No, she didn't say take them home. I've gone out.
She insinuates it in the way that you do that in a movie like this. She can't just say I took some dude home and fucked him. You can't do it in a movie in 1958.
She said that she goes out with men.
I'm just saying, she's alerting him. Anyway, Scottie and her have this conversation.
In 58, women didn't just sleep around.
Didn't you watch Mad Men? The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel? When do you think people just started boning down in 1960?
Yes. Free Love.
That was Free Love. That was a little later, but okay. After the Beats came the hippies, and then it was like, hey, now we're going to have free love. Like, we didn't have Weimar Germany, and we didn't have, ancient Rome. People have always been hooking up. Maybe not so much in the Dark Ages, because they don't have baths. But even then they were hooking up. People were disgusting.
Yeah, especially back then. They
so
were
gross.
Having orgies.
No, that was great in Greece because they had baths. I mean, in Rome. But like in the Middle Ages and the Dark Ages, have you ever watched a medieval movie and ever thought that you'd want to sleep with anybody in that movie? They're all like, where can we take a shower first? Even in Game of Thrones, when Jon Snow went down on Ygritte, at least they were in some water first. And then she's like, wow, you went down on me. Why would you do that? No one's ever done that before.
Plus, she's from the north. She's in the frozen tundra, and she's not sweating down there, so it's all good.
No, but nobody'd ever done it before. In Game of Thrones, she's like, no one's ever... Why did you do that? And he's like, I don't know. It seemed like a good thing. You know why he did it? She was a redhead. That's why he did it.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, so just saying. So back to the movie. We digress. But she's a girl that's down to party if you wanted to. Like, she
says that shit to get him off of her trail.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay. Good. She's a good Kansas girl.
A good Kansas, sure, absolutely.
Where were we? God damn it.
Okay, he's just met her. And her name is not Madeleine.
Right. She says, my name is Judy. My name is Judy. I'm from Kansas.
Judy Burton.
I've been here for 3 years. I work in a shop, and I rent this apartment.
Yeah.
And I date men.
Even though it's San Francisco. I date men.
Date men.
It wasn't that San Francisco yet. See, that was a callback to an earlier joke I made. So anyway,
he asks her to dinner. He's like, I'll pick you up in half an hour. She's like, no, give me an hour. I need to change. So he leaves.
She says, I need to put on my face.
Yeah. Yeah. So she pulls out her suitcase. She sits down to write a letter, and she tells him everything.
And yes, we hear her voiceover. She writes a letter. She's going to pack and bail, and she confesses the whole thing.
The whole plot.
And what does she tell him? What does she say?
She says that Gavin, is that his name?
Gavin.
Hired her to play his wife.
Impersonate his wife, Madeleine.
Because she looked a lot like her, and Madeleine always stayed in the country, so she was never in town. So he hired her to impersonate his wife and pretend like she's possessed by Carlotta.
And he knew that Scottie was a dupe because he knew his whole story.
He knew Scottie was perfect because
he had patsy.
Vertigo, and he knew he wouldn't follow her up into the tower. So he murdered his wife, and when they were in the tower, he tossed the wife out the window, and Judy was still there. Judy? And he wanted to kill his wife, so that was the plot that he...
So now you can admit it is a murder mystery.
It is a murder mystery.
We just didn't know it then. It's been revealed.
It's been revealed.
But she hasn't told Scottie this.
No, she writes it in a letter, then she changes her mind, rips up the letter. She's packing, and then she's not sure, and then she sees a dress that she could wear to dinner, and she puts it on, and she goes to dinner with him. Because she's in love with him.
She's genuinely in love with him. She's fallen in love with him.
Even though he's now crazy obsessed.
Yeah, even though he's crazy obsessed, she loves him, and they have a relationship.
Yeah, they start dating, but he's always like wanting her to do or say things that
because Scottie knows. Like, he might not know, but he knows because he's a cop.
It's creepy.
Well, it is. Yeah, it is creepy, but he's becomes completely obsessed with her.
Even if she loves him, okay, she knows the truth. First of all, she knows that she is Madeleine.
She knows she is Madeleine. She also knows he wants to turn her into Madeleine.
And she wants him to love her for who she is, not for being Madeleine. And so she keeps resisting, and he keeps going further and further. Okay, I'm going to buy you the gray suit. I'm going to make you change your hair. And she keeps resisting, but... And this is the wacky part. Like, at that point, I'd be like, I'm out of here.
Well, it is. I mean,
But she doesn't. She keeps going and doing the things he asks
But
her.
she also knows that he was in a like she has to feel guilt. Like, you don't ever have a scene with her where she talks about her guilt over what she did to him because it's not revealed to him. But we know that she has to. There's a lot of complexity. I think what I love about the back half of the movie is that you have him working out his feelings of guilt and his obsession and his love of this woman, and he might not know why, but he knows in his subconscious. I think he knows that she's actually Madeleine, even though he was a cop, but he can't put it all together, and he's nuts, like you said. He's crazy. So maybe this is his fever dream still in the asylum.
Yeah.
But it is. He is still crazy, but he's also got his mind is trying to figure out what's going on. Right. And his mind is reaching out by trying to turn her in. That's him. That's him trying to figure out, and he does. Because as he transforms her into Madeleine,
he does.
And by the end of the movie, he figures out. But he
has an inkling. But then what really clinches it is when she puts the necklace on.
Well, yes.
You led me there, okay? Don't yell at me for jumping ahead.
No, I'm not. I did lead you there. I was hoping you'd take but string it out a little bit more.
I was trying to, but you led me there.
I did lead. You're right.
Okay, so anyway, she's transformed into Madeleine with the platinum hair.
Oh, over days, long time.
She doesn't want to put it up. He makes her put it up in the French twist, and
I mean, it's the ultimate example of when you're making love to a woman, and you say someone else's name by accident. You're in bed with somebody and you say someone else. I've never done that in my life. Ever. Thank you. But other people have. I've heard other people have. But to me, that's the equivalent.
I've had that done to me.
Oh, it wasn't me.
It wasn't you.
It wasn't me. But that's the horrible, that's the thing. He's still locked in this psychosis. But there's feelings, they don't overtly say it in this movie, which is what I love about this film. There's many different levels, and when you see him, on one hand, it's completely weird and creepy that he's obsessed by this, but it's also because he's still racked with guilt over her death, and that is this weird he had a psychotic break because of this.
He did.
He was in a sanitarium for a year. Like I can only imagine what's happening to this poor guy who, as we saw from the beginning, and by the way, his lifeline to Midge has been severed. In his life.
Well, I think when she tells the doctor that he's in love with her, and that he's never going to recover from this. I think at that point she is like, okay, there's nothing more I can do.
I get it. I get that, but still, he has nothing. As we've seen from the beginning of the film, Midge was his grounding influence, and she loved him. And when she disappears from his life, there's nothing to hold him back down to earth. He's completely consumed or subsumed by this thing that's happened, and he doesn't have a balancing there's nothing that carries him the other direction. He's completely off on one.
Yeah, he's wackadoo.
He's a complete wackadoo. And I think, and let me ask you this. Like, you like Scottie in the beginning of this movie. You know,
Yeah.
he takes the job, and he's a good guy, and you really like him. But then he goes into the sanitarium, and when he comes out, what he starts doing to her, I don't like Scottie anymore.
Yeah, he becomes really creepy. And then the last scene is like...
Well, hang on. Let's, before we get
I'm not going
there.
I'm just telling you, the
Before-
last scene really changes my opinion of him.
Yeah, I mean, but it gets, he gets so obsessive, and you hate what he's doing to her.
Yeah.
Even though the audience knows, like, if this movie was kind of remade by Brian De Palma as a movie called Obsession, which I also have with Jean-Pierre
I
Bujold
feel
and
like I've
Cliff
seen
Robertson.
Who's in that?
Cliff Robertson and Jean-Pierre Bujold. And it's a complete rip-off of this movie. But that's okay. Brian De Palma ripped off Hitchcock a lot. But in this movie, the only reason, like, we don't totally hate Scottie is because we know...
Because it's Jimmy Stewart.
No, well, but we know he's right. Like, his obsession, like, he's trying...
Right.
Well, he's right because he wants to find out the truth of all of this.
His obsession is not about the truth.
But...
His obsession is not about the truth. He gets to the truth, but his obsession is not about the truth.
Okay, but don't you think it's part of it?
No.
Don't you think that he's...
No.
You just think he's
No.
just obsessed with this dead woman, so he's going to turn...
Yes.
You don't think that there's any element of the fact that he's a cop, and that part of the reason he had a psychotic break is because the reality of all this was on one hand, he's a man that found the first love of his life in this married woman.
Yeah.
And then it led to her death and all this, and he goes into an asylum, a sanitarium for a year, and yet he's still a cop. He's still a detective. That's what he was in the beginning. And so even though he's obsessed with this woman, this isn't just his obsession about her being in love with her. I think it's also in his mind, his cop side is trying to solve this mystery of what the fuck happened. So you've got this he's a broken man and he's obsessed, but he's not just some creeper. So
he becomes a creeper.
But I think there's two separate things going on. He is a creeper, but it's because he's a cop and he's a detective. That's what he used to be.
Okay, yeah, that helps him figure it out. But I don't think when he sees her and he turns her into Madeleine that he is hoping to solve the mystery.
No,
of
he's
it.
in. No.
He's in this completely
he's insane.
mental state.
He's completely
where
insane.
he is obsessed with having Madeleine and willing to turn this woman into Madeleine.
Absolutely, 100%. But I would like to believe that part of the reason he's fucking crazy is not just because he was in love with this woman and wants to turn her into one.
Right, of
but
course.
in his mind, in the back of his mind, because it's shown his detective skills kick in the end.
Right. Okay, I see what you're saying.
So
yes.
so he's a broken man that has been driven he's obsessed with love and obsessed with grief and obsessed with this woman that he would do anything to get her back. Like he's trying to replace a dead woman, literally.
Right.
But part of the reason he's doing that, and part of the reason he's that crazy, that he doesn't just stop and go, "You're like the dudes I used to put away." Like, I've gone crazy. And I think part of it, there's just a little bit of that, is that it's his cop brain, too. That's what caused him, part of the reason to go crazy. He's not just a creeper.
Okay.
Well, no, I think it's important because by the end, he's put back together.
Right.
I mean, his mind is put back together.
Right.
And then what happened? Well, keep going. You got to explain what happens at the end.
Okay. I don't know where we were.
Well, so he's taking her out.
They go to the mission.
They go to the mission again.
She's...
But he's now driving her because he's figured it out. Like, he's driving her out there like...
Oh, right. They were going to go out to dinner. She puts on the necklace, and he is like... Then that's when he realizes that she is...
That's when his cop brain figures it out.
Yeah.
That's when his cop brain
Up to that point, though, he's trying to turn her into Madeleine.
Yes, he is.
Okay, when she puts the necklace on, that's when he realizes, oh, I see what's going on.
His detective rationality works it out.
So instead of going to that fancy restaurant, which is where they were going to go, he says, let's go out of town for dinner. And he starts driving her. And this is where I think he becomes even more crazy. So he drives her to the mission, and as they get closer, she's like, "Where are we going? Where are you taking
Wow,
me?"
we're driving a long way.
And she's trying to keep it cool and trying still to, pretend like she is not Madeleine.
Because she knows that he knows. He
At
knows
this
what's
point,
up.
she knows because he's taking her to the mission. So when they're there, that's when he starts manhandling her and throwing her around. And, accusing her of stuff. And
he's not wrong.
freaking her out.
Freaking her out.
Okay, but he didn't have to manhandle her like that.
Okay, I understand that from our perspective.
Okay, so
But
wait.
think about what's happened to this poor guy. He's been in a sanitarium for a year. He was
Yeah,
set up by
but
both of these
wouldn't
people.
you be more curious as to what happened than to be
No.
brutalizing this woman that you were in love with?
She's an accomplice to murder, and he's figured it out. She's an evil. See you next Tuesday. She was an accomplice to murder, probably for money.
Yeah,
She,
for money.
killed somebody. He went into an asylum. No one came and got him out. Midge left him there. He's all alone, and he's fine. He's unpeeling, unraveling, like every horrible thing. Like you talk about believe women. Like he'd like to, not in this fucking movie. I mean, believe women. Give me a break. Like this poor guy, his mind is broken, and he's putting it back together. This bitch has got to go down, down.
Even though he's in love with her?
Even though he's in love, we're always in love with them. We're always in love with them. We love them, and then we are driven crazy.
But see, here's the thing. He fell in love with her, not the dead wife.
I understand, because then they got to know each other again. He fell in love with her again. He found love a second time, and then finds out that she's a bitch. She's an accomplice to murder. She's got to go down. He drove him crazy a second time. Manhandling is the least of her worries. He should have got a gun and put it right in her face.
Wow.
Just saying.
Then he would be a murderer.
Well, yeah, he doesn't do that because he's a good man. But think about what's happening to poor Scottie. He's already confronted the death of this woman that sent him in a sanitarium.
Right.
Then he finds a woman that looks exactly like her, and then he turns her into her.
Yes.
And then she's clearly her, and he's in love with her, and then he sees
But is
Carlotta.
he really in love with her? He's in love with Madeleine.
But then she is Madeleine, so she becomes Madeleine, falls over
She
again.
is, but she isn't. He's not. You can tell he's not completely satisfied with.
Well,
his
yeah, because she's not as
transformation.
refined and all that. But
Exactly.
think about this poor
He
dude,
doesn't
poor
love
Scottie.
the real Judy or whatever her name is.
Who is the real Judy? Is there?
Judy is the girl from Kansas.
Right, and I don't think he would have loved her.
I don't think
Judy is the girl from Kansas that was willing to set up poor Scottie as a cop.
She was paid.
Yeah, so don't ever love Judy from Kansas. Judy from Kansas is an accomplice to murder. Fuck Judy from Kansas.
But she is the Madeleine he fell in love with.
But she's not, because she's acting like someone. She wasn't that person. The
No,
person that he fell in
he's
love
not
with
in love-
isn't even real.
No, yeah, exactly.
He's in
She's
love
not
with
a
an
real
idealized.
person.
She was designed to fall in love with him. She's like a $6 million man fembot. But
She wasn't
real.
designed to fall. They weren't supposed to fall in love.
No, they
She
weren't.
was supposed to fool him into thinking that she was possessed and that, she was the wife of.
Yeah, but you don't think Gavin picked her because of her feminine wiles? Gavin probably
He picked her because she looked like his wife.
he probably tasted that nectar and was like, all right, this girl's conniving enough.
I mean, that could be true.
You know it. He picked her because he knew all about her.
Yeah, she probably did have a relationship with him.
Of
So
course he
anyway,
did.
he forces her up into the tower, manhandles her up there, and throws her up there. And they get up there, and she reveals the truth.
She reveals all the truth.
And they're standing by the window, and then he's like, "Well, did he pay you? Did you stay with him afterwards? How long did you stay with him afterwards? How much did he pay you? Stuff like that." And then
Yeah, you filthy, scheming, horrible accomplice to murder whore. Fuck you. That's what he's saying to her, but you can't say that in 1958.
it was an acting job.
It was an acting job. Horrible. And then what happens? You know what happens? God. Literally, God comes down from the heavens in the visage of a black demon, but it's actually God, a kindly nun. God himself has come down to the bell tower.
The weird thing about it is, like, she's like floating up the stairs. She's not even stepping. She's like, she floats, literally floats up the stairs.
Yes, because you know why? Because Catholics get that shit done. If this were The Exorcist, Reagan McNeil, 12 years old, she's saved from the devil by Father Damien Karras. You know why? Because he's Catholic. I'm Jewish. We can't do that shit. No one's ever scared of the Jews. You know, they're like, the Jews are... No, you're Catholic. You're on God's side. And what happens? God himself shows up.
Yes, so it's this black form that comes up the stairs, and it freaks Judy out that she jumps out the window.
She falls out the window. And it's beautiful.
Falls, she jumps.
No, she falls. She's startled. She's startled by God, and then God is revealed as a kindly old nun that's at the mission.
Nun is like, oh, whoops.
And the best thing is, Jimmy Stewart looks out the window. Boom! Cut to black. The end.
The end.
Greatest. It's so great.
Yep. And he's back to like being himself.
Well, yeah, he's back together, and he just looks out the window.
His vertigo is gone, and he's not crazy anymore.
Because God came down from heaven, and if anybody needed a miracle, it was Jimmy Stewart. God comes down from heaven and sorts him out. I love it, because it starts out this whole supernatural hokum, mumbo jumbo and all that. No, motherfucker, let me come down from heaven and show you what is up. There is no supernatural. There's only me. There's only God, and I'm going to come down here and save you.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's it. Cut to black, it's done.
Of course, that might be an extreme interpretation of the end of the film.
You're a little hyped up right now.
I love the end. I've always loved the end of this movie. So, Elizabeth, what do you think of this movie?
This was a great movie.
It's a great movie. You've never seen it before. So
never seen it before. It was very... exciting and fascinating. I mean, there wasn't a moment where I was like not intrigued and pulled in. I mean, I knew something was up, like when she was, you know, the whole possession thing. I was like, that seems a little weird. What is going on? But I didn't figure out what was going on exactly until a little later in the movie. But it was very mysterious, and it was very exciting to watch.
Now, how did you feel about Jimmy Stewart as a character?
I thought he was great. He was great.
But you said he's a creeper. He turns into a creeper.
I know, but that's great. That character turns into a creeper. I think he played him brilliantly.
Well, it's also because Jimmy Stewart was always, you know, America's, you know, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Yeah.
Hitchcock had him in Rear Window, and he was such a nice guy.
Yeah.
Even though although he does play characters.
He gets Clarence's wings. I mean, come on.
He gets Clarence's wings.
I mean, come on.
It's true. But I mean, I think that was one of the great casting coups of this film, is that you cast Jimmy Stewart in this obsessive, I'm going to groom this woman and turn her into, like, now, if this movie came out now, you'd have people picketing the theater. You can't do that to a 26-year-old girl. Of course, a 26-year-old girl will be playing video games.
It happens all the time.
I know.
And it still happens.
But, I mean, in a movie like this, you'd have, like, that'd be like Tom Cruise becoming the ultimate creeper.
Well.
Or maybe he is, actually.
He could
Come
be.
think of it. Could be. Well, anyway, so we have a letter. Before we get to not Claude and Candida's letter, we have another letter from a viewer, although there is French in it. It comes from Kurt A. And Kurt A says, the uncool ones. Bonjour, Liz and Rob and fellow whiners. Now, can you read this? Here, you're going to need the glasses. Right here. Let me see if I can make that bigger. Right here.
Oh, yeah.
Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you need the glasses? It's okay, we're old. He even says I don't really speak it, so...
I'm not quite sure what he's trying to say at the beginning.
Liz, voulez féliciter Robert pour avoir...
Yeah, okay. Pour avoir atteindre 30 000 abonnements. Je hais que vous parlez en français. He hates that we're speaking French.
I don't really speak it, but I've been waiting 6 months to hear Liz read something in French.
But you said you hate that we're speaking French.
What can be said about Almost Famous that you guys didn't already say? I guess I can just reiterate or reemphasize the things you guys talked about, only with a wink and a nod and suspect grammar. The fantabulous cast with their awesome acting, deft directing, the solid cinematography, and one of the best scripts I think I've ever read. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. Almost Famous is a fantastic film. One might say that it is almost perfect. Out here in the fields, I fought for my meals. I get back into my living. I don't need to fight to prove I'm right. By the way, this is written down. I don't need to be forgiven. Don't cry. Don't raise your eye. It's only teenage wasteland. And then he wrote that there. And then there's the music. And oh, what music indeed. From folk masterpieces by Simon and Garfunkel to the southern rock of Leonard Skinner to Bowie's glam rock, the bands of the 70s were mind-blowing, both in sheer numbers and also in the unearthly quality of their music. In the movie, William calls Russell's guitar playing incendiary. Incendiary. I like to describe Almost Famous with the Portuguese word... Candida, if she's watching, is going to kill me here. Saudade, which loosely translates as something loved that was lost and longed for again. As a kid in the 1970s, the film also evokes a nostalgia in me, a time of infinite possibilities and freedom. Like you guys, my brothers and I could pretty much go wherever and do whatever we pleased, without adult supervision and, of course, with no cell phones. Want to go ride your bike to the convenience store that's a couple of miles away to buy a Coke and some comics? Sure. Want to build a treehouse in a field a quarter of a mile away? No problem. Want to take the bus into town and see Night of the Living Dead and somehow be allowed to see it without parents? Absolutely. I won't sing this. Let us be lovers. We'll marry our fortunes together. I've got some real estate here in my bag. So we bought a pack of cigarettes and Miss Wagner's pies, and we walked off to look for America. Kathy, I said as we boarded a Greyhound bus in Pittsburgh, Michigan seems like a dream to me. It took me 4 days to hitchhike from Saginaw. I've gone to look for America. Terrible. I'm sorry, I'm out of breath. I've now bought Almost Famous and watched it again. A side effect of Cameron's script being so ungodly good is just how incredibly quotable it is. It's all happening. I'm a golden god. I didn't invent the rain... Jimmy Fallon's line. I didn't invent the rainy day, man. I just own the bust umbrella. The only true currency in this bankrupt world is what you share with someone else when you're uncool. Blue Jean Baby, L.A. Lady, seamstress for the band, pretty-eyed pirate smile, you'll marry a music man. Ballerina, you must have seen her dancing in the sand. Come on, we could... No?
Yes, keep going.
And now she's in me, always with me, my tiny dancer in my hand. In closing, I just want to say that I was somewhat like Lester Bangs. I was uncool. Suffering from crippling shyness, I'd stay home and read my sci-fi and fantasy books and superhero comics and listen to my parents' albums. The Beatles, Dylan, Elvis, Cash, Motown, etc. Or my older brother's rock albums. He had a big collection that included everything from the Stones to the Butthole Surfers and everything in between. My brother is gone now, but this movie brings back a time when he was something of a golden god, and a lot of great memories. As always, thank you, be well, and continued success to you both. Bronze Age Slacker, Kurt A. P.S. In preparation for writing this missive, I did come across a neat bit of information. It turns out that Penny Lane was real, and here is her website. All right, I did not know that. I thought she was an amalgamation or
Just click on it. It's a link.
I know, but I'm going to put it in the live chat.
Oh.
I'm going to put it in the live chat. Here, hold me closer, Tiny Danza, says Philip Alvarez. Let's see. So here's the link to Penny Lane's website. And thank you, Bronze Age Slacker, Kurt. Let's see what people are saying in our lovely chat. We've gone... This is a long episode of this show. Uh-oh.
What happened?
I don't know. Well,
man, now I can't see the chat.
We'll figure it out. Just I don't know what's happened here. We'll go back.
Are we still on?
We are still on.
Oh, okay. Are you sure?
Well, I think I might have screwed this up, but yeah, we're still on.
Oh.
We're still on. Don't worry.
What's happening?
It's all here. No.
What the
I don't know.
hell?
Something's happening. We're all good. Our connection is still excellent. We are still on. Don't worry. Anyway, so I told you we had a little technical snafu there. Let's see what people are saying with this. So let's go back and see who's here and who's not here. Wow, we're going back to Willow says, by the way, congratulations on crossing 30,000 subscribers. Is Elysabeth going to do Vertigo in French? Well, I think we've answered that one, Willow. John, for $200, writes, hey, Rob, I've got to say, I believe Rear Window is technically the better film compared to Vertigo, but Vertigo had way more of a first-time viewing emotional punch. Rear Window is my favorite Hitchcock movie. I love Vertigo, but Rear Window is my favorite Hitchcock movie. What about you?
I haven't seen them all.
Oh, okay, well, we'll have to see more. He made 53 feature films, you know.
Wow.
Richard Ganther says, 30,000 subscribers. Parlez-vous français? Much love to you both. Here's to the next 30,000. Let's hope so. Jack for 400 continues and says, on 2 occasions, I ran into an ex in public. One a few months after the breakup. The second a few years after the breakup. Let's just say one encounter of the 5th kind resulted in a cordial conversation and the other a fabled battle of eye contact. I know how that goes. Now, I think you're going to have to read this name.
Guillaume
Chazet? Chazet? Robert, don't beat yourself up. French is hard and full of weird rules. You ain't too bad. All right.
That's true.
Scottie, now at 600, sends in another tip and says, I went into seeing Vertigo totally blind, as in when I first saw Kim Novak as a redhead, which I'm sure you enjoyed. See, he thought she was a redhead too. I had no idea where the plot was going, other than I audibly mumbled, for about 5 minutes.
I thought she looked way better as a blonde person.
Yeah, but see, that blonde wasn't real blonde. It's bottle blonde. Human on a roll at 800 tips a buck and says, to quote Tom Hardy...
Red wasn't real either.
I know. To quote Tom Hardy, a movie from which shall not be mentioned, we all yearn for catharsis. Maybe it's the idea of regret and wanting to fix the past that relates so well to the human condition. Could be. Could be. Timbula, Tim is here and says, congrats on the 30K subs and the 3 million views. You guys deserve it and more. What a great movie to do for this occasion. This is my equal favorite Hitchcock film with North by Northwest and Notorious. Wow. I find it hard to pick just one favorite out of his films. I do too, actually. Guillaume Chazet sends in another super chat and says, bravo pour les 30 million subs. Viva la Burnettwork. How about that? John's here. John says, hail R&B and Liz. Congratulations on 30,000, 30K. Enjoying the French tonight. I bought a VHS of Vertigo before I had a VHS player. I always enjoyed the color, even in that medium. Great show. Thanks, John. Appreciate that. Malbrain sent in a super chat and says, bonne soirée, folks. You light up our lives with your sloshed symposiums. Congrats. Next, Hitchcock the Wrong Man. See sad Fonda face for details. Richard Ganther is here and says, I need advice. I must drive several hours to see one of 2 Fathom event screenings, neither of which I've seen on the big screen. The 60th anniversary screening of Psycho, or the 40th anniversary of The Shining. Which shall I choose? You know what? Ooh, that's tough.
What are the movies?
The Shining or Psycho. You know what?
The Shining.
I'm going to say The Shining too, because from a purely Kubrickian standpoint, the compositions and in it, I think while Psycho, I'm never going to say it's less cinematic because it's not, but The Shining is an exquisitely composed movie, and the bigger the screen, the more impact I think it has. It's also a much bigger and more expansive movie than Psycho. Malbrain watch. People are be like, how can you watch a Hitchcock movie and tell somebody not to go see a Hitchcock movie in the theater? And they wouldn't be wrong. Malbrain sends in a super chat and says, Glad to hear you're finally speaking English, Rob. I had to wait for 30,000 peeps before hearing this. It's truly a pleasure. Love to you two, and come to Ireland. Man, do I want to come to Ireland? How much do we want to come to Ireland?
So much.
A lot. Movie Fanobi says, nice trailer, Rob, for your movie festival. What he's speaking about is, of course, Movie Fanobi, who's also made a poster for we are having the first intergalactic Imagination Connoisseurs Film Festival. Entries open October 1st. They close December 1st, and we encourage everybody to make a movie for the festival. Yep, we're having our own festival. Elysabeth and I are going to do, on December 26th, we're going to have a show here live where we give out the awards with the help of the director, who you will meet during the show. We have a very famous person to help us, the director, to give out awards. Somebody who you're not going to believe we were able to get to be on the show. But it's going to be pretty amazing.
Yeah.
A nice trailer for your movie festival. Hitchcock movies have some fun trailers. You in a hat. I'm in an alternate reality. Have a great night, Steve. Yeah, you know, my hair was a little unruly, so I'm in a hat today. But by the way, did anyone notice? It is, in fact, the crew hats that I had made for the Hills Run Red. This is an actual crew hat from Bulgaria for the Hills Run Red. Richard Ganther sends in a tip and says, back again. Have you seen the series Ghost Story, later called Circle of Fear? Season 1, I have not. 1972-73, Episode 2, The Concrete Captain, always comes to mind when I consider the themes of Vertigo. The episode was directed by Richard Donner. No, I don't know this. I must know it. I have to go see it. Julius Goodwin sends in a tip. Hello, Julius. Thank you very much. Julius says, hey, wait. I thought this was Elysabeth, and yet I think Larry the Cable Guy is sitting next to you, Miss Elysabeth.
He is.
Just wanted to say good evening to you both, and I hope you've been well. Man, okay, fine. You know what?
Aw, that's okay. I like that.
There you go. I'll take off my hat. How about that?
That's some crazy hair.
Julius goes on to say, also, congrats on reaching the subscriber goal, and FYI, she speaks better French than you, sir. But did you seriously choose a wine that says three-way in French? Mr. Burnett, I'm appalled. That kind of thing is to be saved for date night. Come on, man. It's French. I thought it'd be funny. But you're probably right, Julius. I know you're from the South. You probably are much more respectable than me. Malbrained sends into Super Chat and says, Carlotta was Scottie's mother. Oh, sorry, I'm drunk and dizzy. Freud was drunk, too. Drink. Let's drink. Malbrained says drink. Let's drink. Jimmy Stew says, it's a wonderful life.
Yes.
Or if you're talking about Exorcist 3, you'd say it's a wonderful life. John says sends in a $4.99 super chat and says, Carmelo's his dad, so say hi to your dad, who kind of sounds like Carlotta. Maybe Carmelo and Carlotta knew each other. My first impression was that Scottie was not all crazy, but I thought he recognized her and slowly set a trap for her to get to the truth. Ooh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Hola, Elizabeth y Robert. Rob, you did well with your Portuguese. Soda day. Soda day is pronounced soda day. Brazilians would say soda, but say it the Portuguese way. Soda day. Soda day, I will. I love that word. I love what it means. Claudius says, speaking of Hitchcock, I also love Rebecca. I love Rebecca too. I have that on Blu-ray as well. Well, listen, Elysabeth, I think that brings us to the end of our show. This was a long show, and we have to give, of course, we have our 4 glasses. We have our bottoms-up scale. What is our bottoms-up scale?
1 to 4 glasses of wine.
1 to 4 glasses.
Because there are 4 glasses in a bottle. So, what do you give this movie, Robert?
I give this movie 4 glasses of wine.
I'm going to give it 4 glasses.
4 glasses. If you weren't, now, are you just doing that because I said so?
Would you threaten to
No, you're supposed to be.
Walk away if I
No, you have to.
Just like you did when I revealed that it was a murder mystery.
No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't walk away. No, I would walk away from you for that because spoilers are worse than opinions. You should give a movie. You should never ever give anything less than your honest bottoms up scale.
This is a 4 glass movie.
Okay, good. Okay, then I do too. Well, that's good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I just want to point out that...
What's our next movie?
What is our next movie? Our next movie is The Verdict.
if you can find it.
If I can find it. We're doing The Verdict. I'm going to find it.
And what if you can't find it? What is it going to be?
I'm going to pay for Amazon. I don't care. We're going to watch it. It's The Verdict.
We have Amazon.
I know. It's The Verdict. The next movie is The Verdict. Paul Newman, Sidney Lumet, 1982.
You better find it.
One of my favorite movies ever. The Verdict.
The Verdict.
That's The Verdict. So anyway, I do want to point out that, yes, for those of you who don't know, right now we're in the process of running our poster competition. This is a poster that was entered in the poster competition. I just got this poster. It runs till September 30th. And if you go, you can find the video. It's on the front of the Burnettwork YouTube page that explains the poster competition and the film festival. We're having the first Intergalactic Imagination Connoisseurs Film Festival. We're going to be running all the films on December 25th. It's going to be a pre-recorded show that shows all the movies. And then on the 26th, we're doing a live show with guest stars, a special director giving away the awards with us, and Elysabeth and I will be in formal attire giving out the awards.
Yep.
And by the way, there are cash prizes for all the awards. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. The awards are starting to be, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know this was going to happen. The awards are now being sponsored by people. We've been contacted since we've announced this festival that there are people that want to sponsor various awards. So there is prize money, and which is cool.
Yes.
And we're going to have a lot more to talk about, and you will find out on October 1st when the entries open. And whatever your level of expertise is, we encourage everybody to submit films. And they can be as long as you want. They were going to be only 10 minutes, but no, I decided to make it as long as you want. And we just expect to share all of our imagination connoisseur creativity. And this is also the first film festival that is open to extraterrestrials. And we're very serious about this. We will waive the entrance fee. The entrance fee is going to be $25. I know it's steep, but hey, we're small. $25, but if you can prove and give us the credentials that you are an extraterrestrial after all, this is the first intergalactic film festival, we will waive your entry fee. You do not have to pay the $25.
But you have to prove that you're an extraterrestrial.
Yeah, you have to prove you're an extraterrestrial, and your film hopefully will respect or your own heritage and origins, and we're looking forward to seeing that. Senior Ashish says, love the use of bold colors, especially green in the film. Greed, jealousy, envy. Green visually conveys emotions and intentions that can be inferred. La La Land had similar uses, like when Mia's background is green with envy during her and Seb's argument. I like that. I think that's quite good. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this brings Elysabeth's number 77.
What?
77 to the 77th show. Now you can speak French. You can it's like weapons free, as they say.
Well,
you can be French free. Our next goal. Well, I guess our next goal is 40,000.
But what is the?
I don't know. You set the goal at 30,000. What could be our 40,000th goal?
I don't know. Does anyone have suggestions?
I don't know. Yeah, what should be the 40 when we in 10,000 subscribers? Yeah, what do we have to do? By the way, keep it PG. Come on now.
Oh, like you kept this show?
This show is totally, what's a little R-rated?
It's very R-rated.
It's not very R-rated. So it's up to them. All right, Elysabeth, take us out, as Captain Kirk would say about the Enterprise and Space Dock to Lieutenant Saavik in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan.
Everyone you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear, and all you have to do is listen.
All you have to do is listen. That's correct. I will be back on the John Campea show tomorrow. I will also be... I don't know yet if we're doing our Prisoners show with Az tomorrow. Then I'll be back on Robservations tomorrow. And then, of course, we are doing... Wait, it's Wednesday.
Yeah, tomorrow's Wednesday.
Are we going to do the verdict tomorrow? Do you have time? You don't have time, do you have...
I really...
She's in school.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can push it till Thursday. Gives us more time.
I also have a class on Thursday, too. Oh, Thursday morning. Oh, Thursday's better.
Okay. Whining About Movies, episode 78 is going to be on Thursday, not tomorrow. And then we're going to do Romantic Friday. Do you have any ideas what our film for Romantic Friday is?
Not yet. But I will.
All
I
right.
will tell you on Thursday.
All right. Well, and that brings us to the end.
Yeah.
And as always,
Have a better night.
have a better night. Wait, why don't you say, can you say these things in French? Can you say every
better
person
night.
you meet, can you say every person you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear, all you have to do is listen in French?
Jeez.
Can you? I mean, you can. I know you have to think about it.
I'll
Well, say have a better night, because now you're French free. You can speak French whenever you want.
bonne nuit.
So how would you say have a better night in French?
You wouldn't. You would just say good night.
That's it?
Yeah. You wouldn't say have a better night.
Okay.
You would
How would you say,
you
if
would
Belle
say-
Alley's here, how would you say have a butter knife in French?
Un couteau de beurre.
All right. And on that note, a couteau what?
Un couteau pour beurre.
A couteau pour beurre.